Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess and I'm going to talk about the books that I read in August. So I do have my puppy Nigel beside me, so if I turn or if I say something, it's to him. But I just want to say quickly that if you're returning and you haven't subscribed, what are you doing? Maybe you should hit that subscription button, but I can't tell you what to do. But anyway, in the month of August, I read 6 books, and I'm going to do it this time in order from what I enjoyed the least to what I enjoyed the most. So not in sequential order.
You're so cute. We love you, Boo.
I hope you can't see these big horns on my forehead that are growing. I started using retinol and they're just pushing it up, and it's gross and it's painful. So I hope you can't see my horns because I got them. Okay, so the first book I'm going to talk about is Rogue Protocol. This is by Martha Wells, and it's the third in the Murderbot Diaries. I read this at the end of the month. If you watched my little 48-hour vlog that I did, I squeezed this in on like August 30th. So the first 4, I believe, are novellas, and I really enjoyed the first 2. I think I gave those 4 stars. I did give Rogue Protocol 3 stars. Even though it's a novella, this took like almost 35% of the way to really get going. It was a really slow start. Then it was really enjoyable. So 3 stars is still a good rating, but it wasn't as great as the first 2, but nevertheless, I enjoyed it, and I will definitely be reading the next one in this series. Then next I read Do You Dream of Terra 2? So this was a recommendation that I got from Tori Morrow. I will link her channel down below. I really enjoy her channel. I've gotten so many good science fiction recommendations from her. So Do You Dream of Terra 2 is also a science fiction, as Rogue Protocol was. I didn't mention that. And is written by Temi O. I had never heard of it before, but the way she described it, I was like, I have to read it. So I also borrowed this one from my library, like I did Rogue Protocol, and I really enjoyed it. It's basically the story of these young kids. I think there's 6 of them, and they're going to this planet that basically is Earth 2. Like, it has the same atmosphere and the same things that make Earth viable, and so they call it Terra 2. And they're going with some older astronauts, and they basically have been training for this for years, but the journey takes like 23 years. So the book is really more character focused and focuses on their journey and like everyday life things they have to experience on this ship, and realizing that like another day goes by, we still have 22 more years. You know, like, it's not a few months and we're there, like years. Like they're going when they're 18, I think, and so they're obviously going to be like what, in their 40s when they get there. So there's not some huge, I won't say there's not a plot, but there's really not some huge thing that's happening. It's really the day-to-day happening of the characters on the ship and their interactions and normal struggles, but in the confines of a ship heading to a different planet. I really enjoyed it. Some parts made me emotional, some parts were really relatable and just making you think of your life and all that good stuff. So I gave it 4 stars. I really liked that one. So last month I also participated in Tome Topple, and I failed. Tome Topple toppled my ass. I set out to read 2 books and I completed 1, and the one that I did complete was The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. This is the first book in the Stormlight archive, and as you've probably heard me say a bunch of times on my channel, it's 1,000 pages. So I was really intimidated. I've had the first 3 books in the series for a couple of years and just always look at them like, you're just too damn long to read right now. But I finally did it, and I really enjoyed it. I did give it 4 stars, and I will say that it definitely takes some time to get into. Not like I wasn't interested, but there's so much introduced because it's a new series, and there's just so much about the world, different types of people, the characters, different locations. So for me, it was slow going the first couple hundred pages, just because I was trying to absorb all of the information and make sure I didn't miss anything. But then as it started to finally, characters started to become familiar, like I could recognize their name and remember where they were, I started to enjoy it more. And then as the story progressed and you could see what he was really setting up in the book, and then towards the latter end of the book, all these little revelations and things that started happening, I was like, oh snap. So it definitely I really enjoyed it. Really good book. I mean, I've enjoyed almost everything that Brandon has written. My least favorite was a 3-star. It was Elantris, so he's definitely one of my favorite authors. Just the size was intimidating, and it did take me a week to read it, which isn't bad, but I definitely am going to try to read Words of Radiance this month, which is the second book. And if I can do that, then I can read Oathbringer in October and then be up to date when Rhythm of War comes out in November. So again, I did really enjoy this one, but it couldn't be a 5-star for me just for like how long it took me to like really be feeling it. Because in the beginning, like I said, it wasn't bad, but at first I was like, okay, I need to put this down. My head hurts. So, but a really solid 4-star. Amazing. That just gives room for the series to progress. I hear they get better, and I really love Kaladin. Now I understand. I mean, I actually liked all of the point of views. The main point of views, there's 3. And then there's these little interludes with some other random characters that kind of confused me. But I pretty much liked all 3 of the point of views. One I didn't like as much until the second half of the book. I felt like he was, not like his POV was boring, but he himself, he was just a very like rule follower kind of guy. But then you get to see a little bit more of why he is like that, and just a little bit more development towards the end. And then I hear that you get his backstory in Oathbringer, I think. So yeah, so if you've been intimidated to read this, you've read other Brandon Sanderson books, just do it. Just take your time, go through it slowly, and I don't think you'll regret it. So I said that I failed Tome Topple. The second tome that I was trying to tackle was Wrath by John Gwynne. So this is the 4th and the final book in the Faithful and the Fallen series. I'm finally finished. This feels so good to finish a series. I have so many that I'm in the middle of, so I was so proud of myself that I finished this book. So this one was a little shorter than the third one. This was about 680 pages. And I will say I gave this 4 stars. Overall, it was a really great conclusion. I will say I did have some issues. I don't want to know if you call it a trope. Something that happened in this book was someone would get captured and then they would get rescued, and they would get captured again and they would get rescued. And I hate that. Like, maximum 2 times after that, they either need to stay free or they just need to die. And it happened at least 3 or 4 times, and I was so annoyed by that. I'm like, oh, here we go again. They're getting captured. And another thing was one of the characters, because there's multiple points of views, kept coming across this character that he's been after since like the first book. And he keeps coming up to these encounters. It actually happened with 2 characters, like 2 characters on the good side kept coming in contact with 2 other characters on the bad side that they were like always saying the next time they see them they're gonna kill them, and then something always happens that they don't kill them. Either like they're like, oh, I gotta worry about this, or they are tricked into believing the person like surrendered and then the person gets away. And I'm like, okay, if that happens a couple of times, but it kept happening to 2 different total 4 characters. But I was like, if you don't just kill the man and get it over with, I'm gonna be annoyed. And then, this is going to sound weird coming from me if you know my reading taste, because I usually have a problem with endings, especially in fantasy, when there's this big war, all these stakes, and then no one dies. That's usually my complaint. Kingdom of Ash. But I almost have to say the other thing in this, like, he was killing everybody. I was like, damn, you and them too? Like, so I was getting pissed. I was like, how dare you? So it was an epic battle. It's, good versus evil, so I understand people had to die, but damn, all my favorites, not all of them, but a lot of them, I was angry. So overall, this was a solid ending, 4 stars. Something I love about this series are the characters. One of my favorite, I guess it's tropes or themes in books, are found family, and that's definitely in here. So the characters on the good side, obviously, are some of my favorites, and there is a wolf in here. Is it a wolf? But like a pet, and I love her. So that was one of my favorite things about the series. I mean, the plot and the whole everything else that was happening was really good too, but my favorite part was definitely the characters. And like I said before, I definitely recommend this series if you love Game of Thrones because it is finished.
Girl, the shade of it all.
And there's only 4 books, so I think you would enjoy it. Look at me putting books back. Amen. Okay, you might see Nigel. The next book I read was Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo, and I borrowed this from the library, but I did the audio. I have heard nothing but great things about all of her books, and I keep hearing that you should listen to the audio because she narrates it. So this, she does narrate with another person who I don't have their name, I apologize. And the story is about 2 girls. So we have Camino and Yahaira, and one lives in the Dominican Republic, Camino, and then Yahaira lives in New York City. And what they don't know is that they're sisters. They have the same dad. So the story is basically that their dad dies in a plane crash, and it's not till after his death that they find out about the other and the other family, and realize these 2 lives their father has been living. Now originally I was like, I don't know if I really want to read that, but one reason I was hesitant to read any of her work was because this and The Poet X are written in verse, and verse poetry is not my thing, but that's why I went with the audiobook. And I will say that the audio is definitely the way to go. It's so good. I loved hearing her accent, and when she would speak Spanish, was so amazing. And I felt so proud of myself because I knew most of what she was saying. So I was like, look at that, retaining some knowledge. But I will say the only things I did not like, so I did give this a 4.5 because I'm picky. The only things I did not like were sometimes with the verse, she would repeat words or repeat sentences. And I know why, like for emphasis, but sometimes I was like, okay, I get it. I got annoyed. But overall, I really love this story. It was really emotional, and obviously trigger warning for a death of a loved one. There is also sexual assault. For me, I am fortunate. I have not lost a parent, but last year I lost my grandmother, and I don't know. I'm still dealing with the grief. And a part that hit me too in the story is, so dealing with the death of a loved one and finding out things about them that you didn't know afterwards, maybe thinking about what you said the last time you saw them, or you didn't say enough, you didn't see them enough. And I deal with some of that grief myself over my grandmother. So the story really, I'm gonna cry. The story really hit me there, because I don't know if I fully dealt with that. So the story kind of brought those emotions up for me. I was like driving to base and crying while listening to the audio. But so if you can handle that, I definitely recommend it. And I know that doesn't sound like a lot going on, but it's them coming to terms with, this father that either they held in high esteem or they didn't, learning about one another, learning that, their mother wasn't the only one. And, Yahaira in New York City has a better life than Camino and Dominican Republic. They're struggling more, and just things like that, finances and cultural differences. And there's also Yahaira is, I don't know if she's explicitly a lesbian, but she does have a girlfriend, so there's that representation, and a little touch on colorism. So there was just a lot in the book, and it was really amazing how she put all that into one story, and I really enjoyed it. Like I really did. I definitely, I want a copy. It's a beautiful book. Even if I listen to the audio, I do want to get a copy eventually, and I definitely want to listen to her other books. I definitely recommend Clap When You Land if those trigger warnings are, you can handle that. Yeah. Mwah. I also loved finding out, I love in a book when you figure out why they titled it that, like they explain it in the book or it comes up in the book, and I love how that was explained in the book. So it was just overall really good. I should just give it 5 stars, but I'm being picky. The last book I'm going to talk about, which was actually the first book that I read in August and is my only complete 5-star read of the month, is, are you ready? What book is it? The Empire of Gold by S.A. Chakraborty. And I've got to rotate it because the sun always hits the gold right there. But this is the beautiful US edition. I don't know if you can see up here. Here's the beautiful UK edition. I'm going to put this book down because Nigel wants to eat it. The Empire of Gold. What can I say? So that is the third and final book in the David Bond trilogy. The first book is The City of Brass, and the second is The Kingdom of Copper. I reread those two before I read The Empire of Gold, and I gave them both 5 stars on reread, and Empire of Gold 5 stars. It's definitely one of my new favorite series. Shannon, she did that. Yes, she did. I loved it. Oh my goodness. It was 700 pages of emotion and stress and confusion and then elation and then stress again and happiness, sadness, every emotion. I was really nervous going into this book because, again, I'm very picky about endings and how the second book ended. So without giving things away, I will just say that I loved how the story played out with the villains. That's it I'm gonna say on that. I loved all of the history that we got about different peoples, creatures. I love the revelations, the little plot twists that were in there, and I loved the endings for the main characters. Even if one ripped me to pieces and I was bawling while reading their chapter, I think it was just really well done how she did it, not ending everything perfectly or wrapping everything up neatly in a bow, but still giving satisfying conclusions to their arcs and their stories. I can't. I'm thinking about that chapter, and I just want to cry because I'm not even gonna say who it was. Nigel. God. It was perfect. I rarely love an ending or give an ending 5 stars, but I think The Empire of Gold was excellent. I think the length was perfect because she added a little bit in, which I'm always hesitant about in the last book when you bring in a new character, a new storyline, a new anything, because it's like you're supposed to be wrapping stuff up, but it was essential to wrapping up the story, and it was just done so well. So 5 stars to that. Bravo to Shannon. I can't wait to see what she writes next. I think she already has another series or book in the works. I feel like it has something to do with pirates, but don't quote me on that. But I will be pre-ordering and stashing that up. It was great. So if you haven't read it yet, if you're nervous, I know I hate endings too. I don't want it to be over, but these are definitely books I'm going to reread for the rest of my life. So you should just read it. Just read it so we can talk about it, please. That was a hideous face. And that was everything I read in August. It felt like less, but 6 books is still really good, especially since The Empire World was like 700 pages, Wrath was almost 700, Way of Kings was 1,000. So I think I did pretty darn good in August, and now I hope I can have the same success in September since I'm trying to read another 1,000-page book. But after reading all of that fantasy, I did read 2 sci-fi and then the contemporary, but reading Empire of Gold, Wrath, and The Way of Kings, my brain was like, no more fantasy, no more magic system, nothing right now. So that's why I read some sci-fi at the end of the month, and first of this month, I read a contemporary and a middle grade. I just needed a break from adult fantasy, but now I am reading The Obelisk Gate by M.K. Jemisin, which is technically sci-fi, but I feel like it has a little fantasy element to it. And then I will have to pick up either Royal Assassin or Words of Radiance. Both chunky books, both adult fantasy, so yeah. Hold on. I had to film the end of this because this one somehow made my camera zoom in by my watch. But anyway, if you've made it this far, thank you so much. Please leave me a puppy emoji so I know you watched this whole thing. But I appreciate it. I hope you give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe. All my social media is in the description box, including a link to Nigel's Instagram, I'll list all the books below in the description box, any links to petitions or any resources I can find. The description box always has a bunch of stuff in it. So I hope you're doing well and taking care of yourself, wearing your mask, wearing your sunscreen, drinking water. Just let me know how you're doing in the comments. I don't care. Engage with me. Tell me something. But thank you so much for watching this video. We'll see you in our next one. Right? Say bye. Bye. Oh, you're a sleepy Nigel. It's your nap time, isn't it? Oh my goodness. Oh, what a sleepy boy. Oh, you're so tired. Okay, I'm gonna put you in your bed. Oh, you're so tired, boo-boo. Oh, sweetness. Oh, look at you. Okay, let's go to bed. Let's take a nap, huh? Oh.